has long celebrated the establishment of the first permanent British colony in the New World, in Jamestown, in 1607.
But tonight, forensic experts are giving us a very grim look at just how difficult those early days were for the settlers.
Buried beneath the floorboards of America's first church. 2 bodies, 400 years in the dirt. And then, scientists opened their graves. What they found in the DNA didn't just identify the dead, it exposed a scandal so explosive, so carefully hidden, that it had been erased from every genealogical record in England. This is the story of how ancient DNA cracked open a 400-year-old secret and revealed the dark truth about one of Jamestown's founding families. May 1607. 3 tiny ships, the Susan Constant, the Godspeed, the Discovery, limped into a swampy peninsula on Virginia's James River carrying 104 English colonists. They named their settlement Jamestown, after King James III. It was supposed to be England's gateway to New World riches. It became a death trap. Within months, the colony was hemorrhaging people. Brackish water, typhoid, dysentery, salt poisoning, relentless attacks from the Powhatan Confederacy, who saw exactly what these invaders represented: the end of their world, and the colonists utterly ill-prepared. Gentlemen who'd never worked a day in their lives, sailors who knew nothing about farming. Captain John Smith, abrasive, brutal, effective, managed to impose some order through sheer force of will and crucial trade negotiations with Chief Powhatan. But in October 1609, a gunpowder accident sent Smith back to England, and that's when Jamestown collapsed into hell. The winter of 1609-1610. Historians call it the starving time. That's a sanitized name for what happened. Population starts around 500 colonists. By spring, 60 survivors. That's an 80% death rate in 6 months. Powhatan warriors besieged the fort. Nobody could hunt. Nobody could fish. Nobody could leave. The colonists ate their horses. Then their dogs, then their cats, then rats, then shoe leather. Then they started digging up corpses. In 2012, archaeologists found forensic proof of what the written accounts had described. A 14-year-old girl they named Jane. Her skull showed 4 tentative chop marks. Someone had tried to extract her brain. Her jaw bore cut marks from removing her tongue and cheeks. Her shin bone was butchered for the leg muscle. This wasn't ritual. This was desperation. This was survival cannibalism at America's first permanent English settlement. By June 1610, the remaining 60 colonists, starving, traumatized, broken, had given up. They boarded ships and sailed down the James River toward the Chesapeake Bay. Destination? Newfoundland, then England. Jamestown was finished June 9th, 1610, 10 miles downstream near Mulberry Island. The fleeing colonists encountered 3 ships sailing upriver, fresh supplies, new settlers, and at the helm, Thomas West, 3rd Baron de la Warr, noble, military veteran, appointed governor for life by King James himself. His arrival was literally the last-minute rescue that saved Jamestown from becoming just another failed colony like Roanoke. Lord de la Warr was not gentle. He ordered the deserters to turn around. Immediately, he implemented martial law, strict military discipline, rebuilt the fort, established new forts at the mouth of the James River, launched aggressive campaigns against the Powhatan using Irish tactics, scorched earth warfare. Burn villages, torch cornfields, steal provisions. The same tactics the Powhatan used. And Lord de la Warr didn't come alone. 3 of his brothers joined him, Francis, John, Nathaniel, along with other male relatives, among them his first cousin, Sir Ferdinando Wenman, knight, 34 years old, the first English knight who would be buried in America, and a young military officer, early 20s, name, Captain William West. The records called him Lord de la Warr's kinsman. That's it, no specifics, just kinsman. Fast forward to 1994. Dr. William Kelso launches the Jamestown Rediscovery Project. For years, historians believed James Fort had been completely washed away by the James River. They were wrong. Kelso's team discovered the fort's original triangular palisade, still there, buried under centuries of soil. In 2010, they found something even more remarkable. A pattern of massive post holes, 4 feet square. These weren't just any posts, they'd supported a substantial building. Cross-referencing with historical documents, the team realized what they'd found: the archaeological footprint of the 1608 church. The second church built at Jamestown, used until about 1616. This was sacred ground. This is where the first representative assembly in America met in 1619, where Pocahontas married John Rolfe in 1614, where the earliest English colonists came to pray, to bury their dead, to seek meaning in a land that was killing them. 2013. Excavations begin in the chancel, the holiest part of the church, the eastern end where the communion table stood, and archaeologists discover 4 aligned graves positioned with mathematical precision. Not scattered, not random, aligned. Someone had planned these burials with great care. High-status burials. You could tell immediately. Careful construction. Strategic positioning. 2 coffins in particular showed superior craftsmanship. Anthropomorphic coffins, human-shaped, wider at the shoulders, narrowing toward the feet, like early sarcophagi. These weren't standard hexagonal coffins. Only the wealthy got buried like that. Only the elite. One grave contained something astonishing. A military sash, silk fabric interwoven with silver thread and spangles. Micro-CT scans revealed the delicate remnants. This was a captain's sash. High rank, high status. Skeletal analysis, male, early 20s. Historical records, Captain William West arrived June 1610, killed in a skirmish with Powhatan warriors at the falls of the James River near modern Richmond in fall 1610. Age at death? About 24. Perfect match. Another grave, male, mid-30s. Historical records, Sir Ferdinando Wenman arrived June 1610, died of illness summer, fall 1610. Age 34. Governor's first cousin through the maternal line, Wenman's mother, Jane West Wenman, and Lord de la Warr's mother, Anne Knollys West, were sisters-in-law. Wait, not sisters. Let me get this right. Sir Ferdinando Wenman's mother was Jane West, daughter of William West, 1st Baron de la Warr, and Elizabeth Strange. Thomas West, 3rd Baron the Governor, was Jane's nephew. His father was Thomas West, 2nd Baron de la Warr, Jane's brother. So Wenman and the Governor were first cousins once removed? No, wait. Actually, the genealogy shows Wenman's mother, Jane West, married Thomas Wenman in 1572. Their son Ferdinando Wenman was Governor Thomas West's first cousin because Jane West and Thomas West, 2nd Baron, the governor's father, were siblings. Got it. Wenman, confirmed first cousin. But Captain William West, the records just said kinsman. No details, that was the mystery. The other 2 chancel burials? Reverend Robert Hunt, Jamestown's first Anglican minister, died 1608. Buried in a shroud facing the congregation, clerical tradition. Hunt was the spiritual anchor of the colony in its darkest early days. When colonists were dying by the dozens, Hunt provided the only comfort they had, prayer, last rites, hope that their suffering had meaning. And Captain Gabriel Archer, early leader, John Smith's nemesis, died during the starving time. Archer's burial held something extraordinary, a sealed silver reliquary placed carefully on top of his coffin. CT scans revealed what was inside, 7 bone fragments, 2 pieces of a lead ampulla that once held holy water. This was a Catholic reliquary in a violently Protestant colony. Think about what that means. This was 1609, just 4 years after the Gunpowder Plot, when Catholic conspirators tried to blow up Parliament and King James. Anti-Catholic hysteria was at its peak in England. Catholics were seen as potential traitors, Spanish sympathizers, enemies of the crown. And here was Gabriel Archer, buried with Catholic relics in the chancel of an Anglican church at England's most important colonial venture. His family had been persecuted for their Catholic faith back in England. He'd hidden his beliefs his entire life. But in death, someone, family, friends, fellow secret Catholics, made sure he was buried with his faith intact. The religious story of early America is far more complicated than we were taught. But back to Captain William West and Sir Ferdinando Wenman. Chemical analysis of their bones revealed elevated lead levels. In the 17th century, that meant one thing: high status. Lead contamination came from eating and drinking from pewter vessels and lead-glazed ceramics. Poor people used wooden bowls and spoons. No lead exposure. Rich people? Poisoning themselves daily with their expensive tableware. Isotope analysis confirmed both men were raised in England, not Virginia. The nail patterns showed they were buried in nearly identical anthropomorphic coffins, same carpenter, same construction techniques, built within weeks of each other. These 2 men were clearly connected. But how? Enter the cutting edge of forensic anthropology. Ancient DNA analysis. The bones were in terrible condition, 4 centuries in Virginia soil. Poor preservation. The team from Harvard's David Reich lab faced a massive challenge. Ancient DNA degrades over time, breaks into fragments, gets contaminated by bacteria, fungi, soil microbes. Extracting usable genetic material from 400-year-old bones in a hot, humid climate? That's pushing the limits of current technology. They targeted the petrous bone, the densest part of the skull's temporal bone, the pyramid-shaped section that houses the inner ear. If any DNA survived, it would be here. This bone is so dense, so protected, that it preserves genetic material better than any other part of the skeleton. The extraction process is painstaking. Cleanroom conditions, specialized equipment. every precaution to avoid modern contamination, they managed to extract enough material for targeted SNP enrichment, looking for 1,240,000 specific positions in the genome where humans vary. Results? Poor, really poor. Individual JR2992C, Wenman. Fewer than 13,000 SNPs successfully sequenced. Individual JR170C, West. Similar degradation. That's less than 1% of their targets. Normally, that would be a failed extraction. You can't determine close family relationships with that little data. You can't reliably call Y chromosome haplogroups. You can't do genome-wide ancestry analysis. But there was one thing they could do. One type of DNA that survives better than the rest, because there are hundreds of copies in every cell instead of just 2. Mitochondrial DNA, and that's where the story gets explosive. Mitochondrial DNA, inherited only through the mother's line, passed unchanged from mother to all her children, sons and daughters. Daughters pass it to their children. Sons don't. It's a direct maternal lineage tracker going back generations. Sir Ferdinando Wenman and Captain William West both carried mitochondrial haplogroup H10E. Not just H, which is common in Western Europe, H10E, a rare subclade. Finding 2 individuals with H10E means they share a recent maternal ancestor. Same grandmother, same great-grandmother, direct maternal line. This finding shocked the researchers. Why? Because Captain William West carried the West surname, and Ferdinando Wenman's mother was Jane West. The assumption had been that their connection was through the paternal West line, the family of barons and nobles. But mitochondrial DNA doesn't lie. This was a maternal connection. Dr. Edouin Harney explained it perfectly. They had assumed that since Captain William West's last name was West, and that West was the last name of Ferdinando Wenman's mother, that their relationship would have been on the paternal lineage. The ancient DNA gave the anthropologists a direction to start searching in. The DNA had just opened a new mystery. If both men inherited their mitochondrial DNA from a shared female ancestor, who was that ancestor? The historical researchers went back to the archives. New question, different angle, looking for obscure references, court cases, wills, anything that might explain Captain William West's maternal lineage, and they found it. A court case from 1616, 6 years after Captain West's death, a dispute over his property and possessions. In the court documents, testimony from his aunt, Mary Blount, formerly Mary West. She was the daughter of William West, 1st Baron de la Warr, and Elizabeth Strange, making her Governor Thomas West's aunt. Mary Blount had been the beneficiary of Captain William West's will. After his death at Jamestown, she sued to recover a set of jewels that had been given to William by her sister's name, Elizabeth West. And the critical detail in the court testimony? Elizabeth West had given these jewels to William, but Elizabeth West never married. Boom. Captain William West, buried with honor in the church chancel, military sash on his chest, close kinsman of the governor, was the illegitimate son of Elizabeth West, the unmarried daughter of William West, 1st Baron de la Warr. Let's trace the maternal line to prove the DNA connection. Elizabeth Strange, grandmother, married William West, 1st Baron de la Warr. They had 3 daughters. Mary West married Richard Blount. Jane West married Thomas Wenman. Elizabeth West never married. Jane West's son, Sir Ferdinando Wenman, Elizabeth West's son, Captain William West, both inherited Elizabeth Strange's mitochondrial DNA. Both carried haplogroup H10E. The DNA doesn't lie. The court case confirms it. Mystery solved. But here's what makes this story devastating. In 17th century England, particularly among aristocratic families, illegitimacy was a catastrophic scandal. It threatened inheritance lines, family reputation, social standing, political alliances, everything. Understand the stakes here? The West family wasn't just wealthy, they were nobility, barons, members of the Privy Council, connected to the royal family through Mary Boleyn. They moved in the highest circles of English society. One scandal like this could damage marriages, business arrangements, political appointments for generations. The West family had the money and power to care for Elizabeth and her child. She remained in her father's household at Wherwell Abbey in Hampshire until her death around 1579. After Elizabeth died, her sister Mary took over raising young William. He got an education, military training, access to the family's social network, opportunities. But William's grandfather, William West, 1st Baron de la Warr, refused to provide for him in his will. Despite Elizabeth's explicit wishes that her father care for her son, that detail survived in the 1616 court case. The Baron wouldn't formally acknowledge William, wouldn't give him an inheritance, wouldn't put his name in the official genealogies. The 2024 study notes the language used in family documents. The carefully chosen language and the conspicuous absence of formal recognition of Captain West as Elizabeth's son in official documents strongly suggest the illegitimate nature of his birth. They erased him, systematically, deliberately. Every genealogical record compiled over the next 4 centuries omitted his existence. When historians studied the West family tree, Captain William West was just a kinsman, a vague connection, no parents listed, no birth details, nothing. Until DNA refused to cooperate with the cover-up, and that likely explains why William came to Jamestown. He was raised as part of the high-status West family, given opportunities, but everyone knew the whispers. Everyone knew the truth. In England, his illegitimacy would always haunt him. No matter his education, his military service, his connections, he'd always be the bastard nephew. But in Virginia? New world. Fresh start. A place where a man could make his own name. Where kinship to Governor de la Warr actually meant something. Where military valor could earn respect that aristocratic birth couldn't. The study authors put it perfectly. Parents of illegitimate children often moved from the community of birth to hide the child's status. The adult Captain West likely understood the personal advantages of leaving England and partaking in the Jamestown venture. Since he arrived accompanied by 2 older cousins, it can be assumed that Captain West's family also likely encouraged his departure to a place offering greater economic and social opportunities. In other words, the family wanted him gone, politely, with support. But gone. Captain William West died in fall 1610. He was maybe 24 years old, killed in fierce fighting with Powhatan warriors near the falls of the James River in the heartland of Chief Powhatan's territory. Lord de la Warr had ordered men to reoccupy an abandoned English fort called Delaware's Fort. It was a brutal campaign. When William's body was brought back to Jamestown, he was buried with full honors in the church chancel. His military sash, silk and silver spangles, folded carefully across his chest. His anthropomorphic coffin built by the same skilled carpenter who'd built Sir Ferdinando Wenman's coffin just weeks earlier. Despite his illegitimacy, despite the erasure from official genealogies, the West family honored him in death, buried him alongside knights and ministers and colonial leaders in the holiest ground in Jamestown. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was genuine affection, maybe it was just maintaining appearances. He died serving the colony, serving the governor, and the family had to do right by him publicly, even if they'd hidden his birth privately. We'll never know. But 414 years later, ancient DNA told the truth, that the genealogies had buried. Dr. Karin Bruvelheide from the Smithsonian Institution. This study is the first to successfully use aDNA as a tool of identification at the colonial site of Jamestown, Virginia. This study further reinforces the need for multidisciplinary approaches to better answer questions of not only WHO was involved in colonization, but possibly why. That last word is key. Why? Why did these particular people come to Jamestown? What were they running from? What were they hoping to find? For Captain William West, the answer was crystal clear. He came to escape the shame of illegitimacy, to build a life where his actions mattered more than his birth circumstances, to prove himself to a family that had supported him but never fully claimed him. Dr. Eoin Harney from Harvard, who led the DNA analysis, this study demonstrates the utility of combining genetic, archaeological, and historical approaches to the study of the past. Despite the poor DNA preservation of the 2 individuals, their shared mitochondrial haplogroup helped to guide records-based historical research, ultimately leading to surprising insights into their relationship. Dr. Christine Lee from the University of Mississippi, who wasn't involved in the study but reviewed the findings, this demonstrates how genetic data, in combination with other historical evidence, can help bring to light narratives that were forbidden or shameful in the past. This, in turn, gives us a better understanding of how individuals circumvented societal rules. Michael Lavin from Jamestown Rediscovery Foundation. The people who came here to forge a new life for themselves had family secrets and interpersonal drama just like we do. The fact that we can reveal those secrets more than 400 years later is an incredible feat of the historical and scientific community. Think about the layers here. We're not just identifying bones. We're not just confirming who died at Jamestown. We're uncovering the human motivations that drove English colonization. The personal desperation that made crossing the Atlantic with an 80% chance of death seem like a better option than staying home. This discovery is unprecedented. The first time ancient DNA has uncovered illegitimacy in a high-status colonial American family. The first time genetics solved a 400-year-old inheritance dispute. The first time science gave voice to someone whose story had been intentionally silenced. And it raises haunting questions. How many other secrets lie beneath Jamestown's soil? How many other kinsmen in the historical records have stories we don't know? How many people came to the New World not seeking fortune, but seeking escape? The DNA evidence, the court case, the archaeological context, the lead isotopes, the military sash, the coffin construction, all of it came together to reveal one man's hidden truth. Captain William West, illegitimate son, military officer, colonial defender, buried with honor, erased from history, until DNA refused to keep the secret any longer. 400 years of silence, broken by a few fragments of bone and the molecular signature inherited from his mother's line, stretching back through Elizabeth Strange and forward through the truth. This is why archaeology matters. This is why DNA analysis matters. This is why we keep digging. Because every skeleton has a story, and some stories are too important to stay buried. So here's my question for you. If ancient DNA can expose a 400-year-old aristocratic cover-up at America's first permanent English settlement, what other secrets are still buried beneath our feet? What other kinsmen in historical records have hidden stories we've never uncovered? Drop your theories in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by how cutting-edge science is rewriting history one skeleton at a time, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started with these discoveries. What colonial mystery should we investigate next? Let me know. Thanks for watching. And remember, the dirt always tells the truth. Eventually.